my name is Zoerner, and I came through NAASE, and I'm a psychology major. Starting in elementary school, I was pulled out of class for reading activities and for math activities. In 6th grade, they started a math acceleration program, so I was never in the regular classroom for math. And then once I got to high school, it was just honors and AP classes. That was it through high school. I got a little postcard in the mail, and it's actually funny because I'm not sure how I got on this mailing list. I asked them, and they said it was ACT scores, but I hadn't taken the ACT, so I'm convinced it was fate. So I get this postcard in the mail, and my biggest concern was senior prom. So I told my parents I wasn't going to go because all of the senior fun things and just all the stuff that I thought I would miss socially. And so I just, tossed the postcard aside. And then my parents came up to me separately and said, this is a really cool thing, you should look at it. And they hadn't realized that, like my dad hadn't realized my mom had talked to me, my mom hadn't realized my dad had talked to me. So it was funny, and I told both of them no for the same reasons, just social stuff. And then they came up to me together and said, okay, if you look at the website, we'll leave you alone, we promise. So I looked at it and I was like, well, okay, I'll just apply and I'll decide later. And I just started realizing that there's so much more to school than, the football games and stuff like that. And I realized how cool of a program it was. So. When I was younger, I really liked it. I remember I had the same gifted teacher from kindergarten through 5th grade, and then again in junior high. So I only had a couple years where I didn't have her. So I loved meeting with her, and I had friends that I went out of class with gifted for, and other ones that I didn't. But the first time I think I remember that it was weird was in 3rd grade. I didn't understand division, and so I wanted to stay with the regular class because I didn't understand what was going on, but all of my friends that were in the regular class were like, well, but no, you go with the smart kids. And I was like, but I don't know how to do this, and I need to be here, and I think they just thought that was weird. I got over that. That was fine. And, in high school, at that point, I'm from a small-ish town where everyone just kind of knew that I had been pulled out of class before, so it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess. I didn't feel like it took me out of anything socially that I wanted to do. I don't know. I think the projects were hard because everyone was like, oh, we want the gifted kids in our group. But I didn't want to do all the work. But I think that's pretty common for gifted students to experience that. My sister is very good at school, if that is the right way to phrase that. But she gets the grades, but she puts in a lot of time. And I remember one time my parents told her that she was doing so well that they really wanted to accelerate her as well. Because, like I said, I had been pulled out since kindergarten, and she was at that point, I think, in 6th grade, and my parents were like, you could really do this if you want to. And she just didn't have the desire to do it, but she was always really proud of me and, really supportive when I wanted to do whatever she was doing. She wouldn't be weird about it. She'd be like, yeah, okay, this is what I'm doing, and so I liked sitting in when my mom would help her with her math problems and stuff like that. So she's great. And my parents also. My mom, I guess when I was I don't even remember doing this. I was in a little car seat in the car, and I guess I would ask my mom for math problems. What? So she would just ask things like, okay, how many sides does a triangle have? And I probably could barely even count at that point. So she always was pushing me with that, and she would bring little flashcards on road trips, and she'd hold them up behind her head, and I hated those ones. But they were really supportive, and they really pushed me to do my best. I know a lot of gifted parents think that because their kids are gifted, they need to come home with straight A's, and if they did come home with straight A's, then, you know, they're just messing around, so they need to be grounded, and they need to shape up. But if I'd come home with less than an A or less than what they expected, they weren't mad. They would just say, you know, what happened, and is this really hard for you? Or just ask questions so that it was more, I could evaluate myself and think, like, did I try my hardest and that this is just something that doesn't come as easy to me, or did I give up because it doesn't come as easy to me? So they're really supportive in not answering that question for me. It was up to me to decide if that was my best work, then that's fine. And then, like I said, as far as coming here a year early, they were the ones that really pushed me to do it. I think they knew it would be a great experience for me. And then once I was here, the first month, I want to say, my parents would call all the time, and I was I was the one that was like, I'm going to go to college in New York, and I'm not coming home except for on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I was very sure that I wouldn't want to be going home. So the first month, I remember just not really calling home, but they would call me like once a week just to see what was going on. Not that they were worried I wasn't doing okay, but I mean, every parent's curious. Then after the first month, I just started really missing them, and I realized why I would not have, it would have been a really bad idea for me to just go to New York and go away to school and never visit home. And the first time I called my dad just to talk, I remember him being like, what's wrong? Are you okay? I was like, I just wanted to say hi. But they were just really supportive about, yes, they would call to check up and see how things were going, but they understood I needed to figure out on my own, that I still needed them, and I needed to figure out on my own when to call them and when to visit, things like that. Well, before I left, I didn't really tell people because at that point I was still applying and I wasn't really sure, and I didn't know how the application process went, and I thought, you know, maybe in 2 weeks I'll get this note that says we don't want you. So then I would have told all these people, and then all senior year they'd be like, well, you don't even want to be here, so. So I didn't really want to put up with that, so I just didn't really tell people. And then around February, maybe a little before, I finally told people that I was just kind of looking into it, seeing where it went, and people didn't really understand why or what I was doing, but my best friends, like my closest friends, they were just like, well, we're going to miss you, but okay, you know, this is what you have to do. And then when I came back, I went back for homecoming last year, and that was just weird because my really close friends, nothing changed. That wasn't weird at all. But people that I just kind of knew of felt the need to like come up and say hi to me, just be really awkward, or people that I used to kind of be friends with would feel like either we weren't friends anymore or that they had to sit there and interview me about college. And I was like, well, I still have the same interests as you, you know. I think a lot of people just figured that once you're in college you're a different person and you change, but you're the same person. So that was kind of weird, but I mean, that's fine. I just realized that when I went home I would see my close friends, and that was what was important. As far as people here, I also didn't really tell people that I was younger because I didn't really think it was necessary. Sometimes it would come up where I couldn't do things, like I wanted to get a flu shot and I couldn't because I wasn't 18, so I couldn't sign my form. And so people did find out, but I mean, most people, it was the most common reaction was, oh, I wouldn't have known. That's weird. Why are you here? So it wasn't that big of a deal, and teachers don't know anything, so it's not like on your little form, like, little star, this person is not 18, it's not, they don't treat you any differently, so. They weren't very helpful. They were less than supportive. The first time I brought up to my advisor as something I was just looking at, he said, "You really want to do this?" And not in a, "Are you sure? Think about this." It was, "Why would you want to do this?" So that wasn't very cool. But the more I talked to him, he ended up coming around and saying, "This is what you're going to have to do to graduate." I didn't graduate a year early. I walked with my class. So he said, "This is the credits you need to transfer, and these ones will count, these ones won't." The principal of our school, he was really supportive, but not all of the administrators were on the school board, because he said, they have to okay this, but he was okay with it. So my mom wrote a lot of notes, and Jan wrote a lot of notes, and finally they were like, "Well, okay," because, to them it doesn't make sense to have me show up as a dropout. It doesn't help them. So my mom just kind of worded it as, "You are such a great, or this is such a great education system that she's just ready to go, and that's how awesome you guys are," and that kind of helped. Also, some people that were supposed to, I wasn't sure if they were going to send me some letter that was like, "We don't want you." So I was looking for other programs that were similar that I could apply to once I decided this was something I really wanted to do. And they wouldn't really help me look for those either. And as far as scholarships went, they wouldn't help me with those, because they're like, "Well, you can't apply for this because you're not graduating." So they just kind of left me hanging with that. That was up to me to look for, but I still found a way to do it, so just gotta do what you gotta do. I just always liked school, and I didn't see anything wrong with that. And everyone would just, I just remember people being like, "Why do you like school? And why do you try so hard? And, why do you like math? And why is your handwriting neat?" Just things that I really put a lot of time into. I didn't realize it was bad that I did. But, I think I still had my good friends, and I don't think it affected me too much. When I used to care a lot about handwriting, and I guess that kind of changed because I was told that it was too much like the teachers or something. But I still love math, so, I didn't lose everything. Yeah, in high school I would take a lot of time on my homework, and I know a lot of people didn't, but I still had time to go see my friends. I still had time to do everything I wanted to. I still was involved with sports and other activities, so I don't feel like it really affected me too much. I'll be honest, at first my thought was, "Sweet, I'll get away from home." Like, exactly what I wanted. I had this all planned out in my head. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go to Iowa for a year just so I can leave, and then I'm going to transfer to New York, so then I'm going to get away." But no, that's not what's happening at all. I don't want to be that far away from home. But I think that was probably my first thought of applying was, okay, independence, here I go, off on my own. And then, of course, the whole fact that I'd taken the top math class I could take, and I didn't really have any interest in any of the other classes that I could take. There was only one education class I wanted to take, but it just doesn't make sense to stay for a year for one class where I probably have similar but better opportunities here on campus. So I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And I guess the more I thought, one of the reasons I'd said I'd want to stay back was to stay with my friends. And so I thought, well, we're going to leave in a year anyway. We're not looking at the same schools. We aren't looking at the same majors. That's just being realistic. We're in a year from now, we're not going to be in the same place. And so I have 4 best friends at home, and I was like, well, they're still going to be my 4 best friends from home, and a year from now that's not going to change, so it doesn't make a difference if it's a year early. It just kind of seemed like one of those opportunities that if I didn't take it, I would really regret it. So think I would have visited multiple campuses before I committed here. Even though I'm really glad I'm here and I think this is a school I should be at, but I didn't really know what to expect. Just, I moved in. I didn't even really get a full tour of the campus because I applied and I'd never visited a college. I came here, had my interview, was like, yeah, I want to do this. Then kind of had a half tour because it was really gross outside. And so, when I finally moved in and I went to my first class, I had no idea what was going on. And I don't think that has anything to do with acceleration, because I think every freshman, or any freshman that didn't look at other campuses, was in the same boat. And I don't feel like my adjustment was any different than it would have been a year later, except for the fact that I probably would have taken the time to look around campuses or, I don't know, sit in on a lecture or something like that. But other than that, I'm really glad that I did this, and I don't regret anything about it, I don't think. A lot of people from my high school go to Iowa, and so I know if I came with my class, I probably would have stuck with them a lot and kind of used them as my crutch to meet new people and to have a buddy with me at class, and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But being here without anybody, because I didn't really know anybody from the class above me, so being here and having to go meet people and go out of my way to knock on doors and use my map to find my place on campus, it helped me grow up a lot and realize how to make those connections and how to be bold enough to do what you need to do. So I thought that was really good. And like I said, I wanted to, leave home and cut all ties, here I go, but also being gone just made me realize how much I do still need to call my parents, and I need all that advice, and I need to go home every 6 weeks or so because I just miss them. So I thought that was a big growing up experience. I get along, I think, better with my parents now than I did before I left. I know there are a couple acceleration classes, or accelerated classes, that I took in high school where I could have put more time in, I could have put more effort in, or the classes that I took that weren't accelerated, so I just didn't care and I should have put more time in. So I guess the only thing that I regret about my education, I guess I'll just put it that way, is I think something I realized in college is that education is what you get, what you put in. It's what will be what you get out. So a lot of the classes, I think I could have got so much more out of them, but I just did enough to get the grade I wanted. And I guess in high school and junior high, maybe it wasn't such a big deal. But now that I'm here, I'm realizing, if you're paying for an education, you don't want to just be sliding by. And when I hear people say, like, oh, I'm so glad I already knew everything in that class, it was so easy. I'm like, really? So you're paying for an education that you already had? That just, to me, doesn't make sense. And I guess especially this year, I took on a really tough load, and I've just realized it's okay to stay in on Friday night and Saturday night and study both nights. Like, it's okay to do that, and you're still going to have friends, you're still going to love college, because your education is such a cool thing. And so I just wish I learned that earlier, but I guess that's part of the learning experience, is messing it up a few times. I would say give it a shot. Specifically about NAASE, just start applying and come visit the center. I don't know if they give out contacts of people, I guess they probably don't do that. But do what you can to find out what it's like, and just look into it, because it doesn't make sense to not give it a shot when you have the chance. As far as other acceleration goes, I think the same thing. Just try. If worst case you jump back to where you were, I mean, there's really nothing to lose. I don't think, I don't know, just go for it.